Good day. I am Kimberly Madrona from BSed English 2A, and today we are going to talk about the curriculum vitae. I'm going to discuss its parts and I'll also give some tips in writing it. So without further ado, let's start. Curriculum vitae, Latin origin of vita or vitae, means the course of my life or the happenings in your life. So it is a biographical overview of a person's education, relevant experience, and other information that demonstrates the person's personal qualifications. So, what is a curriculum vitae? It is commonly referred to as a CV, or short for curriculum vitae. It has 2 or more pages, and it's a more detailed synopsis than a resume. So later we are going to find out the difference between a CV and a resume. So what is in the CV? Naa siya'y letterhead, naay objective, skills, work experience, education, awards and recognition, your hobbies and interests, and the references. Muna ang components sa CV. Starting with your contact information, that's where you input your name, your address, your telephone and cell phone number, or your email. So, muna siyang example. And the next would be your personal information. This is the section where you put your date and place of birth, your citizenship, visa status, and gender. And of course, napod tayo optional personal information, which means pwede ra ni siya nga dili i-include informations like marital status, spouses, and name of children. And then, next would be your employment history. So, muning work history nimo, kailangan naka-list ni siya in chronological order. You have to include position details and date. And of course, your education section, you include dates, your majors, details of degrees and training and certification. So some tips in writing your education section, you have to include the recent schooling first, and then include diploma distinctions, and you have to get the school's name correct, and kailangan degrees and certifications i-include po. So, next section would be the professional qualifications. This is where you show off your acquired certificates, diplomas, and awards. And napod ang section dira sa awards, your publications, your professional memberships, and interests. Sa tips pod in writing your honors and awards section, kailangan naka most recent first, and the format would be honors, award title niya, date received. And you have to go back to undergrad but not before, kanang dili na, no need to list na the primary school. And then only academic or professional scholarship counts. And sa tips po in writing your professional experience section, you have to include anything you were paid to do or was extensive regular work. Ano siya? Next section would be the publications and presentation section. So, unsa man diri napita. So, if you have a published work of interest or collaborated on a certain project which has been published that is pertinent to your job application, you should include this to allow prospective employer to see your work firsthand. So, unlike resumes, when writing a CV, kailangan doon na publication and presentation section. Kanang samot na kung sa academic CV. So, unless you lack publications altogether, kailangan gyapon na naani siya. So, nakay 2 options no for listing your publications and presentation section. Pwede most recent or ang orders publication. And then, nakabold dapat ang name for authorship. And you have to include submitted or pending pa lang publications. Siya. Muna example sa publication section. Kaning example has APA style guide formatting. The next section would be the interests. So, muna ang guide on how to write your interests on a CV. Kailangan specific, efficient, no exaggeration, and it has to be placed at the bottom of your CV. And next section would be the added qualification section. So this section is dedicated to listing extra qualifications which suggest your levels of knowledge and training and can also be used to impress recruiters. So din mo i-highlight ang imong unique abilities, but it should be verifiable and you have to include language fluency and cultural knowledge. So here's an example of a two-page curriculum vitae. Nada sa igbaw ang personal informations, naa ang achievements, your education, your work experience, qualifications, skills, and preferences. Muna ang part sa curriculum vitae. And then, here's the do and don'ts in writing a curriculum vitae. So, starting with the do's, you have to use a standard font size in black ink and include most recent and relevant informations, and you have to be consistent on your layout. Dili maglaylay of template on every page, and you have to list skills and achievement and back it up with evidence, and keep it short, maximum lang of 2 pages. Kay it has been discussed no sa previous reporter nga prospective employers only allot gamay lang nga time when reading your CV, so kailangan mo buo na siya. And then you have to include a statement about your career aspirations and what you have to offer to the employer, and be honest but positive, kay negatives can always be turned into positives, and use positive action verbs like accomplished, achieved, delivered, organized, and etc. And you have to proofread it for spelling, punctuations, grammars, and meaning. And sa don'ts, don't do it in a rush. So, dili magdali no kay we are like selling ourselves here. So, we need a lot of sales talking. And don't lie. So, kailangan na adyo evidence. So, dili jud ka makapamurit dire. And don't leave gaps in employment. So, unsa man ang employment gaps? Muna siya ang period during your professional career in which you do not have formal employment. So, if you have employment gaps, it can be addressed somehow by explaining your employment gap in your cover letter or during your interview. And don't include irrelevant personal details. Kanamo ni mga gamit din lang na i-appeal. And don't use flashy or large font. And don't simply write a list of duties under work experience. So, sa CV, work experience section matters most. So, kailangan mag-allot yung time to make that section of your CV appealing. So, after tackling about the curriculum vitae, let's now move on to CV versus resumes versus biodata. So, what would be their differences? So, human naman sa CV, let's have a quick overview of resume. So, a resume portrays an overview of one's education, experience, and competencies. So, muna dire ang summary of your work experiences and skills relevant to the field of work you are entering. It is an accomplishment-driven marketing tool for individuals seeking employment. So, a resume relates your experience to your career objective. So, you have to take note, the resume is tailored according to the targeted position. So, unsa may purpose resume? Of course, you are making a resume to apply for a job. So, the goal of any good resume is to show that you are a qualified candidate and a good match for the job. So, the resume motivates employers to interview you. Muna ang format sa resume. Na heading, objective, na summary of qualifications, education, experience, and you can also add additional sections like honors, activities, and skills. Muni example sa resume. Nadira no ang heading, nadira imong address, and then the objective, which specifies the type of position you are seeking. So it tailors your objective to the company. And then summary of qualifications. This is optional. You only have to use a qualification summary only if it's put emphasis or links your background that is most relevant to the job requirements. Nana siya dira. And then your education section and the experience section, you have to include only positions related to the job you are seeking. So take note na sa in a resume, you only have to include position na imong natrabahoan na related sa imong job nga applyan. So that is a resume. Now let's talk about biodata. So common na kayo ng biodata no, naraganin yung nato mapalit sa daplin. So biodata or biographical data. It concentrates more on individual and his attributes like height, weight, skin, and complexion. So this is mainly termed when you have to submit your document where information about physique along with education and family background is necessary. So biodata, kuan man siya, old-fashioned terminology for resume and CV. Ang emphasis diri kay personal informations. So muni example sa biodata. So as you can observe, ang pinakadako jud nga space kay about sa personal informations. And then sa biodata code, education and experience is not mandatory, which means pwede na siya wala. So after talking about the CV, a resume, and biodata, let's take a closer look about their differences. So sa kalahian nilang tulo. First, curriculum vitae, kay wala siya page limit, but recommended is to only have 2. And sa resume, 1 or 2 pages, but recommended kay 1. And sa biodata, no page limit, but mostly 1 na gini kay munggo naman ang biodata. And then sa curriculum vitae, not required ang date of birth, gender, father's name, nationality, hobbies, and declaration. Same as sa resume, dili po required na nga mga informations. While sa biodata, kabaliktaran sa curriculum vitae and resume, kay ang focus diri ang time of birth, gender, religion, race, nationality, residence, and marital status. And then sa curriculum vitae, you have to list all skills and certifications held also expired. So sa curriculum vitae, kailangan nakalista ang tanan nimong skills. While sa resume, ilista lang nimo ang relevant na skills and certifications na connected to the job you are applying. And then sa biodata, education and experience, kuan dili siya mandatory. In a curriculum vitae, it is customized for a larger audience and not for a specific job description. So, ang curriculum vitae is mangkalahat ni siya, pwede ni gamiton isag asa basta nangita pa lang ka og trabaho. While sa resume, it is customized to a target job description. Ang resume is centered yun na siya para ng specific job na imong applyan. And lastly, curriculum vitae, ang ipinaka-importante ang information are full name, contact details, short bio, education details, experience in chronological order, professional skills and certifications, interest, courses, publications, and references. So resume, full name, contact details, experience in reverse chronological order, education details, professional skills, and certifications. While sa biodata, ato naman yung nastoryahan ganina nga, ang emphasis diri kay personal information. So, in general, the meaning of curriculum vitae, resume, and biodata are the same. Ang ila lang yung kalahian kay ang ilang focus and ang mga informations nga included. So, to summarize, a resume would be ideally suited when experienced people apply for a specific positions where certain specific skills are more important than education. Yeah, a CV, on the other hand, is preferred option for fresh graduates or people looking for a career change. It can also be used by people applying for academic positions. And lastly, biodatas are mostly used by some people when applying for government jobs, research grants, where one has to submit descriptive essays. So biodatas are not common in the international markets where informations like age, gender, religion are not required to be submitted by candidates. So that's the end of my discussion. I hope you have learned something and thank you. Keep safe, everyone.